Senator Merkley, thank you for joining me today. We appreciate it.
I am delighted to be with you.
We are talking to you on Thursday, less than 24 hours after your marathon floor speech in the U.S. Senate. Have you gotten any sleep after speaking for nearly 23 hours straight?
Oh my goodness. I downed a couple bottles of Gatorade, a slice of pizza, and by the time I got home, I was falling asleep. 11 and a half hours, maybe a record for me, of sleep.
11 and a half hours of sleep. Wow. You obviously needed it after all that. Why did you feel it was important to do this for 23 hours?
I am ringing the alarm bells. So much is happening every day that is part of straight out of the authoritarian playbook. And we are seeing the three components that destroy a democracy: a rubber stamp Congress, a court that's handing more and more power to the president, and an authoritarian, power-hungry president. And in the course of that, our freedoms are being attacked: freedom of press, freedom of speech, due process. We're seeing that the Justice Department is being weaponized and turned into a team that's attacking the president's enemies list. We're seeing his efforts to get court decisions that enable him to deploy the military to our cities. All of these are the full authoritarian playbook. And so we don't lose our democracies generally in the world now from men with guns taking them over. We lose them because electeds who are following this authoritarian playbook destroy the separation of powers and checks and balances.
Long time to stand there, long time to speak, obviously. What did you feel you accomplished?
Well, I was hoping that I could dramatize this challenge, ring the alarm bells on this authoritarian takeover. I know that a lot of Americans are paying attention to this. 5 times as many people came to my town halls this year as last year, primarily to say we are worried about various actions by the president, various authoritarian actions. I was impressed by the 7 million people, largest one-day demonstration in our U.S. history on Saturday. But I wanted to do everything I could in those town halls. My constituents in Oregon, they've been challenging me. Can't you think of anything else you can do to draw attention to the steady erosion of our democracy? And I thought this is one thing I can do. I can try to bring more attention to it by speaking about ringing the alarm bells through the night and the next day.
As you well know, Republicans have lots to say about your marathon session there. In fact, Republican Whip John Barrasso said this in part after your marathon. What did Democrats actually accomplish? The government is still closed. Capitol police officers and Senate support staffers were here for the entire 22 hours, still not getting paid. What's your response to them?
Well, they're not getting paid because the Republicans shut down the government and refused to even engage in a dialogue about the fact that 20 million people across America are seeing their health rates on average double on the healthcare exchanges. We are seeing increases in Oregon that may not be as high, but if they're up as projected, an average 68% higher. You think about how families pushed to the wall. If they see the rate or cost of their health insurance go up 68%, it's not 3% or 5%. It means a lot of them are not even going to buy insurance. I was talking to an entrepreneur who came from Oregon. He has several people working for him, a small business. And he said of 3 people he talked to, and 3 are not going to buy insurance this year round on the exchange. They are going to gamble and go without. And all sorts of bad things happen when that occurs. You have the fact that small problems become big problems because people don't go to the doctor. The big problems cost a lot more to treat. They're treated in the emergency room. That's even more expensive. Then without insurance, there's no money to pay the bill, so the revenue drops for the clinic or the hospital. Then they have to cut programs or shut down completely. I mean, we are in the middle of a major healthcare crisis because the Republicans passed this, what I call the big, ugly betrayal of a bill, slashing healthcare to fund, well, tax benefits for billionaires. And so if I accomplished a little bit more publicity for the fact that, in fact, we're an authoritarian takeover and that we have to address this healthcare crisis, well, then I hope that was something useful.
What are you hearing from your constituents about your marathon session? What are they saying to you?
Oh my goodness, the thanks are pouring in. People are saying, thank you for doing all you can to draw attention to what's happening to our country. And people don't want to lose our democracy. They don't want to lose our freedoms. You know, I was really struck by talking to veterans at the No Kings events. I was at one in Lapine. Lapine, a small town, 200 people out on the street protesting. Then I went up to Bend, a much larger crowd in downtown Bend. But I talked to several veterans who said, you know, we fought for the United States of America. We were deployed, and we felt like going in large part because we're defending our country with its freedom. And we don't want to see our democracy and our freedom die because they're being destroyed from the inside by President Trump. And I think that should give food for thought to all of us.
Did you hear from anybody who said, you know, what the heck were you doing all that time? They didn't support what you were doing?
Well, I haven't heard at least the roughly 100 text messages that came in last night didn't say that, but maybe people called the office and said that. I haven't gotten the full read down, but I must say my impression is that folks in Oregon who are worried about healthcare and worried about our democracy are appreciative that I'm doing everything I can think of, including something like the discomfort of staying up through the night and ringing the alarm bells.
Am I correct in saying you didn't eat, drink water, or take a bathroom break during that whole speech?
Well, I didn't, in preparation for it, from breakfast on Monday through Tuesday after, well, it was Tuesday evening. So for 2 days, I went without water or eating in preparation. So I was completely dehydrated. I did eat about maybe 10 M&Ms during the course of the speech, and I sipped a little bit of water. But very, very sparingly, because I knew that if I had to leave the floor, it would end.
Boy, I don't know how you did that. I'll tell you something right now. Especially
I do not recommend this. This is going without water and food for 2 days, not a good idea. And standing up through the night, I don't recommend that either.
This is the second time actually you've done a marathon speech. Was it more difficult this time around?
It was more difficult. I'm a decade further along in life, and this was a longer speech by 7 hours. And I had hurt my back a few weeks ago, and so I was in back pain the entire time. So this is much more difficult.
Do you think you'd ever do it again?
No way. No way. You know, only one person over 60, other than myself, has ever done this, and I'm by far the oldest.
Wow. Well, let's talk about the shutdown. Let's move on to that now. It's about to enter its 5th week. Any indication it will be ending soon?
No, the president refuses to negotiate. The leaders of the Democrats in the House and Senate asked before he goes on this week-long trip, sit down with us, negotiate. 21 people are seeing their health care rates go through the roof. We can't work in a democracy if we don't talk to each other. And the president said no. And the leader of the House and the leader of the Senate, they said, well, the president doesn't want us to talk. We're not talking either. And the House has been out for a month. I mean, they're on vacation. I don't know where the hell the Republicans are, but they're not here in D.C. And it seems like, well, America is suffering. They're on a beach somewhere, I guess.
Would you support a GOP bill to pay federal employees like air traffic controllers?
I'd support a bill to pay all of them. It was and including those who are on furlough. There was a bill presented today by Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, and that bill essentially says the president can fund whatever programs he wants, employ whoever he wants, and those people will be paid, but nobody on furlough. And that's simply a martial law bill. That's the president running the country without a spending bill being done by Congress. And that's part of the authoritarian takeover. So that I did not support, but I do support the alternatives that Senator Van Hollen from Maryland and Senator Gary Peters from Michigan have proposed.
Mm-hmm. Any compromise that Senate Democrats will make to end this government shutdown that's been going on so long now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's always a compromise to be found when people sit down and wrestle with it. And there are a number of Republican ideas that have been put forward about how to trim the tax credits in places here and there, but not this massive reduction of them, and to reverse this huge attack on Medicaid that we're just 15 months away from that. And that, of course, will be even much more brutal attack on healthcare than cutting the tax credits for the healthcare exchange. I mean, we have in rural Oregon, 70% of our children are on the Oregon Health Plan, our Medicaid plan. Medicaid affects our veterans, it affects long-term care, affects the disabled, and of course, it affects our least affluent citizens. And it's estimated that that second stage of the Republican attack on healthcare, that about 235,000 Oregonians would lose healthcare. So there's a lot to talk about, but you can't talk about it if the other side says we're not talking. So it's baffling to me in a democracy that the team in charge that holds the keys to the city, because they have the Oval Office and the leadership of the House and Senate, won't even sit down to talk about it.
I want to ask you one question before we let you go. Israel-Hamas ceasefire, do you think it holds?
It's in real trouble. And I'm praying and hoping that it holds. We need this massive infusion of aid to end the famine that was introduced by Bibi Netanyahu's strategy of destruction, destroying homes, and deprivation of food and water and medicine. It's horrific, and you know, America is complicit in it because of our close relationship. And I really, really am praying and hoping there is some way to actually complete the vision of 1947, which would be two states or the two peoples, the Israelis and the Palestinians, because it's only by having a second state that the Palestinians can direct their attention to building their own future. That was the vision from the beginning. The world never came together and actually completed the second half of it. And it's been a piece of what has kept the region in, in turmoil and violence for, we're going on 3/4 of a century. So if the world at this moment could come together and create a Palestinian state, help rebuild Gaza, it would be terrific.
Senator Jeff Merkley, thank you for your time. Get back home and get some
welcome,
rest
Steve.
and drink plenty of fluids, all right?
I'm looking forward to getting on the plane and getting back to Oregon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.